At 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, an entire city was destroyed in 1 second. They said nothing would grow here for 75 years. The next spring, my trees began to bud. You may have heard the story, but have you heard of Sadako Sasaki and what happened to her? I know, I was there. I am Hiroshima, and this is my story. Every morning at 8:15, a bell rings in my city. It has rung at exactly that time, every single day, since 1967. It rings so the world never forgets what happened here, on the morning of August 6th, 1945. Let me tell you what I was before that morning. I was a city of rivers, 6 rivers spreading from the mountains, flowing through me, reaching the sea like open fingers. 350,000 people live between those rivers. Merchants, students, soldiers, families, children walking to school in the early morning light. I was an ancient castle city, built in 1589, proud and prosperous on the western coast of Japan. I had survived centuries, wars, floods, earthquakes. I had survived everything. My people were so used to being untouched by the bombs raining on other Japanese cities that they had begun to wonder why. Some believed American prisoners of war were being held nearby, protecting them. Some believed their relatives in America had petitioned for their safety. Nobody suspected the real reason. I had been saved, not out of mercy, but out of calculation. The Americans needed a city untouched, so they could measure exactly what they were about to do. August 6th, 1945, Monday morning. My streets were alive with the ordinary sounds of morning, children walking to school, trams running, breakfast being prepared. At 8:09, a lone American B-29 bomber named Enola Gay appeared in the sky above me. My people looked up. A single plane was not unusual, not worth the air raid sirens. At 8:15, the bomb bay doors opened. In 1 single second, the temperature at the center of my city reached 7,000 degrees Celsius. Hotter than the surface of the sun. The fireball produced shock waves exceeding the speed of sound. As many as 70,000 people were killed instantly. Instantly, not in battle, not as soldiers, ordinary people walking to school, reading the morning paper. Gone in 1 second. Then came the black rain. Survivors who had escaped the initial blast looked up at the sky and saw rain falling, dark, oily, strange. They opened their mouths to drink. They didn't know the rain was radioactive, contaminated by the explosion above, carrying death inside every drop. Those who rushed toward the center of the city, searching for their families, walked into invisible radiation. By the end of 1945, the death toll had reached approximately 140,000. 140,000 people. In one city. In 4 months. The survivors, called hibakusha in Japanese, carried the bomb inside their bodies forever. Cancer, burns, radiation sickness, and something harder to measure, the weight of being the ones who lived. After the bomb, scientists and military officials said something about me that has echoed through history. They said, nothing will grow in Hiroshima for 75 years. The radiation was too deep, the destruction too complete. I was finished. They were wrong. The following spring, before the rubble was even cleared, before the dead were all counted, before anyone had a plan, the trees began to bud. The Aogiri trees, Chinese parasol trees, growing 1.3 kilometers from the epicenter, had taken the full force of the heat and blast. Although apparently dead, the next spring they started to bud again, giving hope to the people of the city. Apparently dead, but not dead, like me. What happened next is the part of my story that the world does not tell often enough. I rose, not slowly, not reluctantly, deliberately, purposefully, with intention. In 1949, just 4 years after the bomb, Japan passed a law written specifically for me, the Hiroshima Peace Memorial City Construction Law. Not a law for rebuilding a city, a law for rebuilding a symbol. My streets were made wider, my parks were made larger, my rivers were made beautiful again. And at the very center of my city, exactly where the bomb had fallen, instead of erasing the memory, I built a park. The Peace Memorial Park, where the busiest commercial district once stood, now stands 122,000 square meters of trees and memory and silence. At its center, a flame. The flame of peace, lit in August 1964, burns continuously and will not be extinguished until every nuclear weapon on Earth is destroyed. It is still burning. I want to tell you the story of one beautiful young girl. Her name was Sadako Sasaki. She was 2 years old on the morning of August 6th, 1945. She survived the initial blast. She grew up, she ran, she laughed, she dreamed of becoming a runner. Then, when she was 12, the bomb found her again. Leukemia, from the radiation she had absorbed as a child. In the hospital, Sadako heard an old Japanese legend: fold 1,000 paper cranes, and your wish will be granted. She began folding, using medicine wrappers, scraps of paper, anything she could find. She folded 1,300 cranes before she died. Her wish was not to live. Her wish was for a world without nuclear weapons. She was only 12 years old. Today, her statue stands in my Peace Park, a girl, arms raised, holding a golden crane toward the sky. And every day, children from around the world bring paper cranes to lay at her feet. Thousands, millions, tens of millions of cranes, each one carrying the same wish. The same wish she made in a hospital bed 70 years ago. Today I am a city of 1.2 million people. I have a baseball team, universities, restaurants, a busy port, a famous food culture built around savory pancakes called okonomiyaki. I am, by every measure, a thriving modern city. But I carry something other cities do not. Every August 6th, at exactly 8:15 in the morning, my entire city goes silent. The trams stop, the offices empty, the streets still, and the bell rings. Not out of sadness alone, out of responsibility. Because I am the only city in human history to have suffered a nuclear attack in wartime. And I have chosen not to be defined by that, but to be defined by what came after. There is an inscription on the cenotaph at the center of my Peace Park. It reads, "Let all the souls here rest in peace, for we shall not repeat the evil. Not, we are sorry. Not, we are angry. We shall not repeat the evil." That is my message. That has always been my message. Not revenge, not bitterness. Peace. I am Hiroshima. I was destroyed in 1 second. I have been rebuilding ever since. And the flame, is still burning. I have many more stories to tell. If you wish to listen, subscribe. Earth Speaks every week.